I've got like a good 10 minutes and that's it to film this until I have to leave for work, so okay, maybe like 7 minutes. So let's just get into it. Alright, today I have for you guys a look into my Kindle library. I still haven't decided if that's what I want to name it, but that's what we're going with right now. I have my iced coffee, and I'm ready to go. So before I start, I wanted to say I am so grateful for all the feedback you gave me on my video yesterday. I saw the comments. I haven't been able to respond yet. I will do so on my lunch break. Secondly, I have a blog and I wrote a blog post on this, so I will link that. I think I'm allowed to link it. I'll link that in the cards so that I have on there like a list of all the books I have in my Kindle, and then those are like hyperlinked to if you want to go and buy them. Your choice, not trying to like sell books or anything, but if you want to, it's totally there if you want. I have some series in here and I included the links to the series of the books rather than just the single books in case you want to buy the whole series. I only linked the series if I have read them and enjoyed them. So there's a couple books in here that are series but they aren't my books, so I'll explain that, but I only put them as single books. Anyways, I would hold up my Kindle and show you what it looks like, but it's in the car, so I can't do that. So I'm sorry, just use your imagination. I have a Kindle Fire and I named it Fireheart. It is just a very nice Kindle and it was a gift. My grandma actually won it in a contest or like a raffle or something, and she gave it to me because she didn't want it. So starting off, I have the entire Harry Potter series, books 1 through 7, all by J.K. Rowling. I have a physical copy of all the books and I have a digital copy of all the books because I just have it. Next I have The Organized Mind, Thinking Straight in the Age of Information Overload, and that is by David Levitin, and that is the book that I have for Nonfiction November. It's really good and it goes into a lot of cognitive psychology. Next I have Zenith Part 1, that is by Sasha Alsberg and Lindsay Cummings. I have a review for it on my blog as well if you want, or I reviewed it on Goodreads, so. Next I have How to Travel the World on $50 a Day by Matt Capnese. It's just an ebook and he goes into a lot of detail about like what credit cards to use and stuff like that, and if you plan on traveling a lot, I actually recommend it. It's a pretty good resource. Next I have the Throne of Glass series on my Kindle by Sarah J. Maas, and I have all of them except Empire Storms, but I linked the whole series. And yeah, so they're a fabulous series, a great heroine, and if you like YA with a strong female lead, you should totally pick it up. Next I have I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. Definite classic, and it wasn't very expensive, so yeah. Next up I have a series by Ray Carson. It is The Girl on Fire and Thorns, and this isn't a series that I read, but it is a series that my mother read, and for a while she was using my Kindle. I don't know if that's allowed, but she was using my Kindle account, so she would just like buy books and it would go onto my Kindle and we would share the Kindle, and that was because she was reading Throne of Glass series. And once she finished that, she looked for a book that she wanted to read that was similar, and she found these. So she's told me, I haven't read them, she's told me that they're really good. So if you really like Throne of Glass series, pick up a Ray Carson book, and I have the link for them in my blog. Next I have The Assassin's Blade with all of the novellas. I only have 2 novellas on my Kindle because my mother bought 2 of them, but you know I just hauled the actual physical copy thanks to my sister, but they're really, really good and they accompany the world of the Throne of Glass series so well. Next I have Forgive Me, Leonard Peacock by Matthew Quick. I read this for, I think, Mental Health Awareness Week, very, very long time ago. All I remember from it was a troubled teenager boy and it deals with suicide, and it was very, very impactful, so I recommend you pick it up if that's something that you want to read about. The next book I have on here is The Time in Between, a memoir of hunger and hope by Nancy Tucker. This book is about a eating disorder, and I was going to read it during that 1 week, but I only got to Forgive Me, Leonard Peacock. But I heard it is really good, I'm not entirely sure. Next up I have A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I have A Court of Mist and Fury in physical copy, but I will link the series. It's one of my favorite YA books ever, and I don't really read a lot of YA aside from her books, so. Next up, I have #Girlboss by Sophia Amoruso, and she is the founder of Nasty Gal on the internet. It's like a really cool vintage clothing shop. They sell other clothes now because they're so famous, but it's just a really good story about how she went from essentially rags to riches. Next up, I have a book by Kristen Newman, and it is What I Was Doing While You Were Breeding. It is a story about a young woman who, while all of her friends were getting married and having children, she was kind of going through this weird dilemma where she didn't have that, and that's not just her lifestyle, and she went on amazing trips. It's just an empowering story, and I really enjoyed it, and she's hilarious. She's a writer for a lot of comedy shows. Next up, I have Called Stain by Linda Gillard. Yeah, Linda Gillard. Gillard? I don't know. It's a book that takes place in Scottish Highlands, I believe, and it takes place in a castle. Classic good versus evil, and there is magic and a witch in it. Going along on that same theme, I also have Dune and Destined for Dune on my Kindle by Carrie Corp and Lori Langdon. They now have 4 books out. I only have the 2 books on my Kindle and the 3rd book in physical copy. Still have to finish the series, but I really enjoyed the series. I read both books, like literally I finished the first one and then I was like, I have to keep reading, so I got the 2nd book like that. Next up, I have Serafina, and that is by Rachel Hartman. I haven't read this book yet, but it has a dragon on it, so I think I'll like it. Then I have The Giver by Lois Lowry, and it is a classic children's book. It is now a major motion picture. It is a book that I'm sure every child knows, and I just enjoy having it with me all the time. Then I have Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. As part of the Hunger Games trilogy. I don't have all of the Hunger Games on my Kindle, and I don't know why. It's very sad, but I really enjoyed the series, and it was one of my first dystopian series that I really enjoyed. Then I have the Divergent trilogy by Veronica Roth. Very popular dystopian series, and this one is also a movie too, so I have very popular books on my Kindle. I don't know. Then I have 2 books by Ally Carter. I don't know how these got on my Kindle. I think it was my sister. They are like spy books, but for teens, I think. And the ones that I have are Double Crossed, a spies and thieves story, and it's from the Gallagher Girls series. And then I also have Perfect Scoundrels, a heist society book. I don't know anything about them, so if you know about them, tell me in the comments, like, did you like them or not? Then I have The Sea of Monsters by Percy Jackson by Rick Riordan, and it is from the Percy Jackson's series world. I haven't read it. My mom read it. Yeah, I've never read a Rick Riordan book, like, ever. I know it's a very popular series, so I'm sure it's good. Then I have the 50 Shades trilogy by E.L. James. I'm not gonna talk about it. I really enjoyed it, so that's it. Then I have The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I have a physical copy, and I have a digital copy, and I have the movie, and I have the soundtrack. And anyways, I have this book, and it is amazing. If you haven't read it, which I'm sure you probably have, it's a classic. Maybe you haven't. I should stop assuming everyone has read all the books I've read. If you haven't read this book, it's an amazing classic fantasy story about a hobbit. And oh my god, if I start talking about the book, this video is gonna be like way too long, so never mind. Just read it. But that's it. That was the last book. I do have other books, but they are textbooks and they're incredibly boring to talk about, so I'm not going to talk about those. Other than that, let me know what you guys think. Have you read any of these books? Maybe. I am going to be late for work now, so I should probably stop talking. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a comment in the comments below and I'll be there to talk to you guys later. I'll see you guys for Vlogmas Day 9 tomorrow. Bye.